This video will walk you through the steps to make your Principles and Elements squash book. A squash book is a book that consists of 3 pieces of paper that are folded in a way that allows them to collapse on themselves and squash back together. Inside of your squash book, you'll pick a theme. Here, my theme is the tree, and you'll use different media or materials in order to show the principles and elements of art. To begin, you're going to use 3 pieces of rectangular A4 paper. You're going to start by folding the bottom up to the top, making sure the top and the bottom you just folded up are even, and then you're going to push back into the fold. Again, the top and bottom have to be even. You're squishing back into the fold, and then you're going to cut off the extra strip. You need your rectangular shaped paper to turn into square shaped paper. You're going to repeat this on all 3 pieces of paper. When you've completed cutting your paper into the square shape, you want to figure out what is the mountain side, the side that pops up, and the valley side, the side where the paper goes in. So here's my mountain fold or mountain side of my paper. With it in the mountain fold in the square position, I'm going to fold the bottom up to meet the top. Again, I'm being really precise, making sure the top is even and pushing backwards into the fold. When you've completed that, you're going to turn your paper 90 degrees and you're going to fold it again from the bottom to the top. Once you've completed these folds on your first sheet of paper, you'll repeat the process on your next 2 sheets of paper. When you have it folded like this, you can see if I put it in the diamond shape, I can press along that bottom diamond and it will fold on itself. So practice pressing and pushing to see where you can get it to fold. Sometimes your paper has a mind of its own and it takes a little bit of patience to get it to fold correctly. Once you have your paper folded, you'll press it down against your table, again getting all that air out, making sure the folds are really crisp. And you'll repeat that with your other 2 sheets of paper. Next, you'll set your papers up so that you can glue them together. Here I've used 2 different colors of paper so you can see where I'm gluing. If you see where your paper opens, you want all your opens facing the front to begin with, and then you'll tilt them up on their side. Once they're up on the side, you're going to take the center piece of paper and turn it backwards. So the center piece is now facing backwards, and then you're going to overlap the side piece of that center piece and hook it onto your first piece of paper. This takes a little bit of patience. So the center piece hooks over on top of the other piece on the side. So here my purple piece hooks over my pink piece, and I'm going to repeat the process on the other side. The purple piece hooks over. This will allow our book to open or explode open correctly. Once you have it together, you're going to take it back apart and put a thin layer of glue on the inside of your center piece. So on my purple piece, I put a thin layer of glue, and then I'm just pressing it down to make sure it holds it together. If I put too much glue, it will become really wavy and bumpy. So I just put a thin layer of glue, spread it out with a scrap of paper, and there you have it. Make sure you let it sit to dry for a little bit, and it should open and close pretty easily. The next step, I'm going to take my cardstock paper, my thicker paper, and I'm going to measure my book and then measure my covers. My cover should be just slightly bigger than my book, and I'm going to measure and cut a square for the front and back of my book. So here I measured 4.5 inches. Remember, when you're measuring, make a mark in 2 separate places and then turn your ruler vertically to make sure your line is straight. So I made a mark at the top and then again at the middle at 4.5 inches, and here I'm making it again at 4.5 inches with the ruler vertical, and I'm going to push it over and do the same thing, mark it 4.5 inches, making sure I'm starting at the 0 of the ruler, and then I'm going to make sure that line is straight and mark that line. And I'm just repeating the process for the back cover. Once I have my pieces cut out, it's time to assemble my book. I'm going to take my covers and my pages, and I'll need a piece of yarn or string that is long enough to go around my book and tie together. So here I'm just cutting about 18 inches of string. To assemble the book, I'm going to put a thin layer of glue on the front cover. I'm going to use a scrap of paper to spread it out. I don't want too much glue because I don't want to accidentally glue the pages closed. I'm just pressing it down, making sure it can open, turning it over. And here I'm putting a thin layer of glue on the paper, spreading it out, putting my string across the center, just a little bit of glue to hold that string down. And I'm putting the back cover on my book. Once that is done, I'm going to put something heavy on it and let it dry. While your book is drying, you're going to get out your sketchbook. In your sketchbook, you're going to mark out 10 quick squares. You could also hold it in the diamond shape. You're going to choose a theme. Here, my theme is the tree. And you're going to make a plan for how you're going to show each principle and element. Sometimes you'll have to combine them because there are more than 10 principles and elements. And then you're going to make a plan for what media or materials you're going to use in each little mini artwork that you're going to put in your squash book. Next, I just lightly penciled out where each principle or element was going to go in my squash book to make sure I included them. And then I just created a mini artwork for each page of my squash book using the paper from my sketchbook. These are about 3.5 inches square, and I made sure to use different media or materials and to have a lot of variety in all my little mini tree masterpieces for my squash book. Now, if this video was to show all the outtakes and all the things I had to do over and all the tries I had to take to make this work, it would be a really long video. Not only are you learning about the principles and elements of art, you're really applying those studio habits of mind in this project. So be super patient with yourself and persevere and stick to it. Sometimes you'll have to do things over or repeat them. That's just part of the process. I cannot wait to see what your squash book is going to look like.